Afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the International Conference and Members Meeting organized by ARSS Conference in association with IRAJ, ACN, SARC, wrfase, scienceglobe, ieeeforum, ISER, IRF, ieeeforum, and ASAR. And on the behalf of entire organizing committee, I, Mr. Ravi Kumar, organizing secretary, would like to welcome you all for this conference. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce our organization, ARSS. The motto behind this non-profit association is to bridge the gap between students, professors, academicians, industrialists from multidisciplinary. So apart from organizing various seminars, expert talk, conferences, we have various highly rated multidisciplinary journals in the field of science, engineering, technology, and management. So since our inception, we have been arranged various international conferences at various parts of the world, right? India, New York, Thailand, Bangkok, right? And also in Dubai, USA, Australia, Kuala Lumpur, everywhere. And more than 1 lakh people across the globe are associated with us, and more than 50,000 research papers have been presented and published during our journey. So today I am glad to welcome you all as a member of this fastest growing organization and network for the network for establishment of science and technology in terms of research and innovations. So with this, I would welcome everyone for this international conference, and without wasting much time, we would quickly go ahead with the presentation. Quickly begin with the session for the day. All right. We will start the session with the call. The third presenter, Alina Bauchan. Do we have them? Christian Alia Barton. Okay. Barbara. Jack Batok. Yeah, Jack, please, Jack Batok, please share your presentation.
You mean I can start now?
Yes, yes.
This will be the first
Please start the
presentation.
presentation.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you see the presentation now?
No, just go to share screen, right? And then click on the screen. Before share screen, open your presentation and keep it, right? You can minimize the zoom now. If you can minimize the zoom, you can find the presentation. Please click on the presentation.
Okay, now.
Yes, it has been shared. We can see it. Thank you.
You can see now it. Okay.
Yeah, you can go to from beginning slideshow mode.
Okay.
Can you go to next slide? Click on the next slide. Second and third slide. Can you go for the next slide? Just to cross check, can you go for next slide? Next slide.
Next slide.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Now slide is changing. Please go ahead.
Okay. So my name is Jacek Batuk, and my co-author is Barbara Batuk. We are working at the University of Szczecin in the Department of Statistics and Econometrics. We have the pleasure to present our current study related to economic growth parts of Central and Eastern European countries in 2000 and 2020. There are numerous studies on the importance of economic growth, kinds of economic growth and development, but still is valid the statement of one of the quite known Polish econometricians, Zbigniew Czerwiński. He said many years ago that we are witnessing huge disproportion between the levels of economic development in different countries, and in such situation, it's quite important to detect some kind of regularities in the economic development of countries and to find ways of rapid and, let's say in our day, we can say a sustainable development. The crucial point is just to choose the key factors that determine the economic growth and development. But there is no such a single list or classification of such factors, but we know that the list should be quite short. There's no consensus of what if these factors are the most important also. Majority of the studies, when you see in the current research slide, and they are focused on the meaning of the individual factors that they decide about economic development and growth. But our current research is just consider, we try to construct the development paths, the development trajectories of Eastern and Central European countries in comparison to the aggregate European Union in the long run. I will omit this theoretical part because of the limitation of time. So we'll try to construct this economic development paths. Then we'll try to find some similarities in the similarities between individual countries. And then we try to find if the last two crises, the subprime and the COVID economic downturns, they just made any changes to this economic development. We'll use different methods. The most important one that will allow us to construct these development trajectories is a special taxonomic method that we can create the two-dimensional diagram and to place there every object we study. First stage is the selection of variables. The second one, we normalize the variables into the range from 0 to 1. And in a different way for stimulants and stimulants indicators. Then we calculate some measure as a distance from the optimal point, M, as you can see here. And then every object is presented by the different figure. For instance, you can see our past research related to public limited companies quoted at the Warsaw Stock Exchange, and you can see that this green figure related to chemistry, chemical and metallurgical industry was the most developed, the best economic and financial situation because it's the closer way to the optimal point. Then we will use also two similarities measure of time series. The first one is the coefficient chord, and the second, the standard Euclidean distance. We took our data from Eurostat. We will consider 10 objects in Central and 10 countries and the EU aggregate without the Great Britain. And our time span is 21 years from 2000 to 2020. As I already said, we took only a short list of indicators, the 4.1, the employment rate, the government debt, export of goods and services, and budget deficit. As now I will present some chosen results. We can observe the high level of heterogeneity of levels of economic development within the CE countries. You can see also that the pattern is quite similar. There are different levels, but the pattern of changes is similar. We can see the same reacts for the subprime crisis, as well as for the last COVID economic downturn. So we can see also when we look at this economic development of European Union that almost for every year, the economic development of CE countries is higher than the aggregate European Union development level. The changes of these levels of economic development of individual countries are quite different. And we can also see that the best year was in our sample 2019. The worst two, they were related to economic downturns. When you look at distances from the optimal point, we can see for the whole period, the entire period, that there were two countries, Bulgaria and Slovakia. They made the highest progress in economic development during the entire period. And two countries, Hungary and Slovenia, in their case, this economic progress was the lowest in our sample. When we consider two economic downturns, the first one, the Great Depression in 2009 in Europe, in comparison to in the United States 2007, we can see three countries, Bulgaria, Poland, and Slovakia, they behave in the best way, and Estonia and especially Latvia with the lowest level of economic development and the lowest resilience to the economic crisis. When you look at the COVID time, 2020, we can see that all these countries behave the same way. They all are farther from the optimal point. So the economic development level was decreased. And in the lowest range for Hungary and Poland, Romania, but the high decrease of economic development was noticed for Latvia and Lithuania. When you look at the initial and the final year of our sample range, we can observe such phenomena that after 20 years, the heterogeneity of economic development just shrinked within the CE countries, and all the countries exhibit high level of economic development than in the initial year, at the end of our period, and they were all in better situation than the European Union 27. Now we can observe the individual paths of development, economic development. Some of them are concentrated, like for the European Union, and we will see further for Hungary. And some of them are quite broad, like for Bulgaria and Poland. So at almost every country, in case of almost every country, you can see the huge impact of economic shock in 2009 and 2020. So in 2009 and 2020, we are farther from the optimal point, optimal economic development level. Okay, you can see Poland here, Slovenia, the worst economic development in the CE countries during this period, and Slovakia. They made a huge progress also. When you look at the rankings for every year and every country, we can conclude that CE countries demonstrate significant changes of their economic development position over the entire period. And two countries substantially worsened their rank. There were Hungary and Slovenia, as I already mentioned before, and two countries improved their economic situation substantially, Bulgaria and Slovakia. When you use the cluster analysis, in that case, word method, we can see the division of all countries to 4 different categories, clusters. The first one is Slovenia, the second one Poland, the third one European Union as an aggregate, and the rest of the countries. Of course, Estonia and Czechia are a little bit different from the rest one. None of these CE countries was similar to European Union aggregate. And the conclusions, we can observe that all the CE countries were characterized by different levels and changes in economic development. It was confirmed also by the differentiated values of coefficient Court. We took values in the range from 0.4 until more than 0.9. So very small and high values. Then all these countries reacted in the similar way to economic downturns. And in the further studies, we would like to extend the research sample, other European, maybe other countries, and we will try to use other methods of time series similarity measurement. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your wonderful presentation, sir. We can take up the questions a little offline and in the chat box. So request people who have any queries or any inputs or collaborations can ask Jack with respect to the thing. Please also share your email address and connect your email ID as well as your university and your which place basically in the chat box. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Now I would go ahead with the first presenter for the day. I'll be presenting on behalf of them. Yeah. Mr. Markov, please.
Yes, you mean the second presentation?
Yeah, please go ahead, Markov.
Marco, okay, Marco. Yes, from Bulgaria. Yeah.
Oh.
Miroslav Markov here. Please just run the presentations, and they have pre-recorded audio because it's really it interrupts very often the internet connection. Okay, I will try to present, but sorry in advance if something happens with the connection. So,
Roland, please go ahead.
Okay. So the objectives of this paper were to be proposed framework. Just a second. It's an architecture which follows a four-step roadmap, which is based on the sensing, interpretation of the input information, decision-making, and implementation of adaptive behavior. However, this roadmap has a multi-perspective structure. So even though the proposed approach could be classified as human-centered, the interrelation between human and machine, human and surrounding environment, as well as between the machine and its physical environments are also integrated. In other words, the roadmap has a threefold implementation concerning the user information, which keeps the person-specific aspects, the context, secondly, and the information from the machine, which is based on its task logic and execution dynamics. As a central part of the system, the human user perceives the information from its collaborative partner, robot or software agent, and the surrounding environment. Both these information suppliers have a direct influence on humans' decisions and reactions. To achieve a smooth collaboration between user and agent, these influences should be dynamically captured and assessed from the machine side. Corresponding behavior should be elaborated so that the agent can offset the negative outcomes from such influences and support the positive ones. In this line of thinking, the mutual relation between the components of interaction trinity, human-machine context, should be managed in real time, and the machine should be the most adaptive, or let's say the most flexible part of the system. So in order to ensure such adaptive behavior, the proposed architecture consists of 4 complex blocks. 3 of them, namely the model of the user, the model of the context, and the application manager, are abstractions of the trinity, human, machine, and context. The 4th block, decision manager, processes the gathered knowledge and shapes the decision for corresponding behavior. The multimodality of the inputs is of particular importance. They could vary depending on the scope of the system, but generally covers the audiovisual signals, haptics, text, and physiological signals collected through unobtrusive devices. After specific signal processing and data processing, all the data is classified by several classifiers in order to achieve an interpretation of the human state of mind. The interpretation covers the current human intention, natural language processing methods, perceived emotions. Please, if possible, the architecture, it was on the previous slide. Since the human state of mind is a dynamic variable, the current values of its components are important. They indeed play a decisive role in the interaction process as well as in the decision-making process for shaping corresponding behavior. However, for their trends and fluctuations to be assessed and some predictions to be made, collecting historical data of these states are also necessary, which is the block user monitoring on the architecture. User profiling allows the development and implementation of a reasonable number of adaptive strategies corresponding to the number of distinguished profiles. Similarly, on the environmental side, on the architecture, which is the left side of the drawing, the obtained from the multi-sense module signals are processed and classified to reflect the dynamics of specific environmental aspects. The physical world representation defines the surrounding environment, scope, and parameters. The interpretation of the context is a cumulative quantity of all monitored aspects and feeds the decision manager with real-time information for the context side, the context state. The elaboration of context profiles and their recognition allows the development of various context-related strategies. And we also have two blocks for the decision manager. The decision manager is the place that the decision making happens. It consists of two parts: information fusion and disambiguation module, and the decision making module compares whether the draft decision contradicts with the imposed physical world constraints on one hand and ethical and moral constraints on the other. The elaborated decision has a twofold impact on the system. The first aspect concerns the application manager and the task, and the second aspect actually concerns the context-related adaptation. The interaction manager performs behavior generation following the task logic and taken decisions and the implemented adaptive actions. The behavior generation process consists of two parallel components, verbal one and non-verbal one. The verbal one is performed using NLP methods and dialogue management solutions. The substance of the non-verbal one highly depends on the physical implementation of the system and differs depending on whether the agent is a collaborative or industrial robot. And the output transformation module translates the already shaped behavior into specific signals relevant to be used multiple channels for feedback to the user. Thank you. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Marco, for your presentation. Now we'll go ahead with the second presentation.
I will try.
Yeah, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'm
I
just sharing
see
it
it.
again. Sharing it again.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Valentina Markova, and I'm from Technical University of Varna, and I will present the paper named on automated identification of mental workload in a person-independent setup. The current study aimed to identify specific level of mental workload connected to implementing various computer-based tasks. And please, the next slide with the concept. The overall concept is based on Rasmussen skills, rules, and knowledge-based behavior paradigm. Different mental workload induced technique were selected regarding the possibility for performing measurement, the cognitive state recognition, grounded on physiological signals detection. In order to implement our investigation, we selected 3 interactive techniques for mental workload induction: IQ test, assuming that the implementation of each task required a combination of the 3 types of behavior. We selected this task. The reason for selecting the last 2 techniques was their different nature. While mental arithmetic required implementing a set of rules, the Stroop test response is based on only 1 rule, and time limitation imposes great tension, and it uses stress in such a situation. In our experiment, our experimental procedure was composed of different steps. The first step was data acquisition, which is achieved through wearable sensors, while the participants were implementing different tasks. Second, the data was gathered in a database. The third, signal processing and feature extraction were performed. And in the last step, all the extracted features are fed into a machine learning classifier for creation of a model for recognition of mental workload. In the dataset named the datasets for cognitive study, using the name of dataset that we use is a database for cognitive load, affect, and stress recognition. You can see in this slide, this is a free available dataset, and we uploaded it in IEEE data port. And if someone interested of this dataset, it is free available. And this dataset consists of synchronized ECG, PPG, and electrodermal activity recordings, and accelerometer data collected from 62. We used the PPG and EDA signal of 560 people, since some of the recording were incomplete. And in our research, we extracted very physiological signals, and you can see all the features that we used in our experiments. And after being obtained, the raw signals were downsampling and filtered through median filter, and some feature, you see all the features that we extracted. Before implementing the tests, each participant complete a questionnaire stating her or his perception of current self-efficiency. And Please, previous slide. With the results.
Okay, results directly.
Yes,
Okay.
self-reported mental level. The result shows that most of the participants report medium of high level of efficiency when implemented the different tasks. Self-reported regarding the phase difficulty were collected after each task, and a graphical representation of this result are shown 8, 9, and 10 slides. Slides number 8, 9, and 10. You can see all the results related to task performance, self-reported difficulty levels for each participant, and result shows that participants who experience the high level of mental workload were considered those who both reported a serious difficulty regarding the test and those with a low score. And a significant percentage of both reported the Stroop test as easy and performed with a very high score, which is in contrast with those who reported low difficulty for the other test and got high scores on about 20% for mental arithmetic test and for the IQ test. I explained the results on the previous slide actually, and the results largely confirmed the SRK paradigm based on the concept represented in the figure 1. And finally, we evaluated the classification performance of various classifiers on the cognitive flow recognition task with a different degree of complexity in person-independent and person-specific scenario. And here we use this part of the results obtained in the person-independent scenario. And in this scenario, we evaluated the recognition performance obtained with and without applying the Z norm on the feature vector, which in the and we use various classifiers, and the result. Please, the next slide. On the next two table, you can see table 1 and table 2, the average result obtained after 100 turns for person-independent setup with Z-norm features or with raw features. And you can see that the best results are performed with random forests. And in the next section, we made some experiment with person-independent scenario. And in table 3, we present the comparison between the average classifier accuracy for 100 runs of various classifiers employed in the person-specific scenario. As expected, the person-specific experiments generally lead to a slightly better recognition accuracy and lower deviation from representative mean value. However, the difference in the recognition performance between the person-specific and person-independent scenario remains relatively small. This indicates that the selected features fairly well represent the person-independent aspects of the variability in physiological signals attributed to the cognitive low levels. And as a conclusion, I can sum up that we present a study that in which we try to evaluate the visibility of person-specific, person-independent recognition of cognitive load based on physiological signals. And in further study, we will focus our attention on optimization of the performance of the random forest classifier as the best performing classifier, and we'll continue experimenting with the different feature variation computed from physiological signals in order to make the real-time detection of cognitive load. Thank you. If you have some questions, I will answer them.
Thank you. Jack, I think you have fourth presentation. Welcome, Jack. Jack Bato, are you there? So you're muted, you're muted.
Yes, yes. You mean Jacek? Jacek, okay. Jak jest ten F5? Udostępnić. Mogę odpalić tej.
No, musi mieć otwartą
No
prezentację.
mam teraz F5.
Nowe udostępnianie?
Udostępniony F5 teraz chyba, nie?
Tak.
Nie, to jest ten.
Tu.
Czekaj, gdzieś tutaj. Jak to schować?
Poczekam. Animation? Animation.
Nie.
Albo widok?
Pokaz slajdu.
No tak, ale
Właśnie chcę
angielsku.
przejść. Nie, tu jest, ale.
A nie, to jest...
Moment. Jestem, jak do tego wejść?
Właśnie to będzie widać. Start slide.
No, ale nie mogę wejść.
Tu. Aha.
Nie mogę przejść między
No
tym.
to tak pokazuję.
Nie. No.
So we have some problem to show
To see the-
to show all slides.
The proper button.
Share.
Moment. One moment.
Okay.
Split card version.
So we'll go ahead with the next presenter and then come back.
No,
No,
maybe that would be the best idea. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now I would like to call the next presenter. Okay. So do we have the next presenter, Iona? Sorry, Julian Chappell. Okay, I think Julian Chappell isn't available. Okay, do we have Mohammed M. Mohammed? Okay, he's not available. Yong Sang Kim. we have Yong Sang Kim? Do we have Dalal? Dalal, are you there? Okay, Tipshri? Tipshri, are you there? Tipshri, are you there?
Do you mean me?
Yeah, please,
Okay.
Tipshri, please present the presentation.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. So try to restrict it for maximum of 8 minutes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tipsuri Konburaksa. Today, I would like to present in the topic of optimum condition for tangerine peels composting. Due to Thailand, Thai people, we take a lot of food in the years, and also for the orange is the top 10 food in Thailand. The agriculture industry of Thailand is about 170,000 tons per year, and finally it results in the a lot of the orange peel waste. Some of the benefit of the peel waste, that is they contain high potassium and phosphorus, and when we can mix it with the other organic matter, that can reduce the odor during the composting process. And from this benefit, that it can be useful for the improving of the soil quality also due to of the nutrient. From this slide, it shows the composting process. So we try to use the peel waste instead of the organic matter here, and also we have the some condition on increase the microbial here, and finally we can get the compost here. Some of the factors that can be affected during the composting process, and for this experiment, we also conduct in terms of the oxygen enhancement for this process. Also, we try to increase the more porosity in the experiment, and also we try to keep the moisture content in the experiment also. Some of the acceptable value for this parameter, such as the CN ratio should be conducted in this range, the moisture content should be conducted in this range, and the other parameter is also shown in this slide. This also. So in this study, we try to put the bio-fermented water. This is used for increase some of the microbial or enzymatic that can be enhance the composting process. So the objective of our study, that's try to compare the difference between turn and unturned compost pile. Due to if we turn it, it can increase the porosity, and also it can be increase the oxygen also. Also, we try to do in different in the experiment 1 and experiment 2 it's different because of we try to input more porosity in the experiment, and in terms of the experiment we try to increase the bio-fermented water and compare with the without bio-fermented water. The scope of this study, we try to use the tangerine peel waste and also the bio-fermented water, and also increase the porous material, and when the moisture content is about 50 to 60% by adding more water, about 30 milliliter for every 4 or 5 days. And this is some of our material: tangerine peels, soil mix with the coral leaves, and also the plastic bottle and bio-fermented water, some other equipment in our experiment. This one for the soil meter, and then the hydrometer. This one how to prepare the tincturing pure waste, we try to cutting it in the length of the 1.5 inch as much as small as that we can do, and also we mix with other ingredient, and also finally we put all of the material in the basket. This is the experiment one. We have the diagram in this slide, and the all of the material is separate for each baskets, and then we try to monitoring every 2, 5, 10 days, totally 3 months at for each experiment. In terms of the experiment 2, we just increase the process of the porous material by use the plastic bottle and make it as whole, and finally we can increase the porosity about 15% in the experiment 2 as compared to experiment 1. For the experiment 3, we have the biofermented here. We adding more, and the other process is same. Some of experiment we do by adding bioferment, and the other is without bioferment. This is show of the result for 1 month period, 2 month period, and 3 month period. With the different experiment, we found that in the experiment with the biofermented, from the 2 months of the experiment, it can turn all of the ingredient to the black color. That means the composting process is almost done, but it's not so much different with the 3-month period. In terms of the turning compost pile method, compared with the experiment 1, experiment 2, and experiment 3, also in terms of the experiment 2, that we in terms of the experiment 3, that we increase the biofermented, that's and show the more successful than the other experiment. The temperature that we observe for 3 months, we found that the temperature is about 25 to 40 degrees centigrade. This is in the mesophilic phase. And in terms of the acceptable range, it should be in the range of 45 to 60 degrees centigrade. Our experiment showed the lower temperature than the recommended value because of we try to maintain the moisture content. That's why the temperature for our experiment is dropped. And in terms of the pH for the acceptable range, it should be 5.5 to 9. For our experiment, in the initial phase, we get the lower pH, and finally it's going to the around 6 or 7. So in this pH value is in the range of the recommended. In terms of the moisture content, as we try to keep the moisture content around this value, that's why the moisture content is not so much different during the 90 days. And we found that the moisture content is about 60 to 70% of moisture content. The conclusion from this slide, all of the experiment with turning and unturning is almost in the mesophilic phase. The pH value is about 6 to 7, and in terms of the moisture content, it's keep about 63 to 66%. And for all of the experiment, we found that in terms of the biofermented water with the porous material, that can enhance the composting process than the other experiment. Okay, thank you so much. Yes, it's all of my.
Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful presentation, Pushri. We'll go ahead with the next presenter then. Thank you. Please share your details over there in the chat box. Now I would like to call upon Jack Batog. Is the presentation ready?
Yes,
Mr.
I'm
Jack.
ready. Yes, I'm
Yes.
ready.
Can you share now?
Yes, I can. I hope. Can you see this presentation? Hello?
Yes, yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes, okay. Our next presentation present the research which is related to the importance of real estate location in case of properties valuation. There are many studies on the meaning of different distances from different amenities and disamenities in property price modeling. In our analysis, we will use three different categories of locations. We'll try to present the results of our analysis related to single-family houses. They are located around the biggest Polish airport, the shopping airport in Warsaw. And then we try to construct a model for the full complete sample, the complete market, and also for separate submarkets. Such submarkets could be segmented in different ways, as you can see here. In our case, we have chosen the administrative boundaries. There are enormous number of studies related to the influence of noise and location on residential and commercial prices of properties. I will omit due to some limitation of time of these studies. They all provide some evidence that sometimes crucial, sometimes not so significant, that the further distance from the amenities means the lower price. We'll try to verify the hypothesis, research hypothesis, that the favorable location positively influence the level of transaction prices of single-family houses located nearby the shopping airport. We'll use three different kinds of distances. The first one from the city center, the second one from the airport runway, the source of airport noise, and the third one, it was provided by experts. It's called subjective location, and it depends on the quality of the location, of the quality of the environment. We will apply different methods: analysis of variance, ordinary square, generalized linear model that allow us to use variables divided into categories. We'll apply also cluster analysis to find some outliers within the sample, and then we'll use also co-distance measure to try to find some outliers, to identify outliers in the regression. Most of our data were gathered from notarial deeds. We have gathered almost 1,100 single-family houses transaction prices. All the houses are located in four submarkets: city of Warsaw, Pruszków Powiat, Piaseczno Powiat, Warsaw West Powiat. And our data cover almost 8 years. And apart from these three different distances, DC, distance from the city center, DR, distance from the runway, and the subjective location, this is artificial distance, we consider also three other features of properties: technical utility conditions, usable building area, BA, and PA, plot area of the property. Then in the figure, you can see the shopping airport, the blue, green, and yellow line. they present the level of noise, and for different submarkets, city of Warsaw, Warsaw West, Pruszków, and Piaseczno. When you look at the distribution, we can observe that they are not normal. In most cases, they possess the right asymmetry, like unit price and building usable area. And even in case of distance from the city center, we can observe the beam model distribution. So we can expect two clusters according to this variable, close to the city center and farther from the city center. When you look at the results of analysis of variance, you can see that both variables, unit price as well as subjective location, I mean technical utility and subjective location, they have some statistical impact on the level of unit price of these residential properties. So their level of prices are different, with different values of technical utility, categories of technical utility, and subjective location. It is visible also in the figure number 5, that for the worst category of subjective location 1, we can have the average prices equal a little bit more than 4,000 PLN, while for the better category 5, we can observe values higher than almost 10,000 of Polish zloty. Our study considered 3 types of samples: the full sample, the first truncated sample without outliers that we identify using the cluster analysis, and the second type of truncated sample that we remove extreme observations related to every individual variable that we use. And all the regression results are received based on 2 types of models, linear and power models, according to the analytical forms, and 2 estimation methods, ordinary square and generalized linear model. And you can see the cluster analysis results, and the cluster number 4 which is very different from the other residential properties related. They are located far away from the runway. They are characterized by the much lower price level. Because all the models that we tried to construct for the full sample and for unit price, they are characterized by the low level of quality, the low level of fit of the data. We have extended our analysis to truncated sample type 1 without this cluster number 4, and we have used, instead of unit price, the total transaction price. So now I will present some chosen results, and you can see the results for the regression for the linear and power model by means of OLS without cluster number 4 and without outliers that we found in the regression process. All the results are consistent with our expectations. I will focus only on these distances. When you look at DC, distance from the center, we have a negative sign of coefficient. It means that the farther distance from the center, the lower price. And then distance from the runway influence positively the price of the residential properties, as well as the category of subjective location. One category higher means that the price, transaction price, is higher by almost 100,000 Polish zloty. And these results were confirmed by power model, as well as we received the same results with a higher level of goodness of fit for GLM models. But in this case of the regression analysis, we can also consider individual categories for subjective location from 1 until 5. So we can assess the impact of every single category. When you look at the results related to submarkets, different submarkets, we have used this truncated sample number 1. I will present only results for power model with or less and without regression outliers. So what can we see? We can see that for some submarkets like Pruszków Powiat and West Warsaw Powiat, the technical unit has no influence even on the transaction price. This is due to homogeneous types of development. The properties are quite similar because they were built in the same time. When we look at the building usable area, we can see that for all submarkets, the influence on the price, total price of the transaction is similar, slightly lower for city center. When we look at the results for distance from the center city, then we received a mixed results. As we expected, the negative signs for city of Warsaw, for Piaseczno Powiat and for West Warsaw Powiat, and the positive one and high for Pruszków Powiat. But it's mainly because of because they are located in exceptional residentials. They are huge, they are expensive, they are owned by rich owners. Probably that is the main reason that we receive the farther distance from the city center, then we receive higher prices. And distance from the runway, the source of airport noise, it's also a little bit mixed results. And it depends on the specificity of the individual submarket. If we would like to conclude, we can say that our results confirm that the closer distance to the amenities, some favorable environment, then we will receive the higher total and also unit prices for residential properties, in that case, single family houses nearby Warsaw Airport. Then that we can observe the high variation in the impact of these distances when you look at the submarkets. And we can also state that the non-linear models, log linear models behave better than the linear ones, and especially when we remove outliers. In the future studies, we would like to consider other types of distances, and maybe we'll use also some other calculations, regression methods, as well as we can consider some other property markets. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack, for your presentation. It was a wonderful presentation indeed. So there are people who asked questions in chat box. I hope you answered. Thank you. Now let us go ahead with the next presenter then. Maria, are you there? Yeah, thank you, Maria. Please go ahead and start with the presentation. Maria, you're not audible.
Hello.
Yeah, now you're audible. Yes. Yeah, please start the presentation.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Maria, we can see your screen. Thank you.
So good afternoon. My name is Maria Janessa from Rungsit University, and I'm presenting binary logistic regression analysis to determine the significant factors associated with the purchase of counterfeit goods in the e-commerce space. So major sections will be introduction, research objectives, research methodology, results, guideline, and conclusion recommendations. Introduction. So the OECD, in partnership with EUIPO, estimate counterfeit and pirated products to own a market share of approximately 3.3%, or nearly 509 billion infringing products sold internationally. And closer analysis of such data by the researcher revealed that for 3 consecutive years, from 2014, most counterfeit goods originate from mainland China, Hong Kong, and one of the main countries of origin is also Thailand. So this is the graph from OECD. And these are the objectives: determine whether the demographic factors affect the purchase of counterfeit goods and whether public awareness affect the purchase of counterfeit goods. And these were the stages that the author did. For the first stage is the data collection, data analysis, evaluation of market intelligence, and conclusion and recommendations. And the research was mainly done for all respondents who live in Thailand, which is equivalent to 98.8%. And those who did not pass the screening was equivalent to 5 respondents, which is 1.1%. And it is where the results for the experience of counterfeit goods. When asked whether the respondents are aware of the online counterfeit market, 76.4% answered yes, and 43.1% of the respondents have purchased counterfeit goods online. And for the demographic dashboard, 49.9% was aged 26 to 41. 51.4% of the respondents were female, and 53.5% were finished bachelor's degree, and 24.2% had salary bandwidth of 20,000 to 39,999 baht, Thai baht. And these were the for the awareness of countermeasures applied by JD Central, Lazada Thailand, and Shopee Thailand. For the model summary, the -2 log likelihood statistics shows a statistics of 503.940, which shows how poorly the model predicts the public's purchase or no purchase of counterfeit products online in relation to the predictor variables. However, the Hosmer and Lemshow test shows a p-value of 8.29, which is greater than the significant level of 5%, and which indicates that the logistic binary regression model is adequate. Meanwhile, also the Nager-Kirk R-squared for this logistic regression suggests that the accuracy of the factors influencing the purchase or no purchase of counterfeit products online can be explained by the predictive variables under study at 76%, which is assumed to be good enough. For the classification table, assumption was made by the researcher to fit the binary result of the model, which is 0 for purchase of counterfeit products online and 1 for no purchase of counterfeit products online. So the fitted model properly anticipated an overall percentage of 60%. That is, the fitted model successfully predicted 80.86% of the result yes of the variable, have you purchased counterfeit products online, but only 32.5% of the outcome no of the constant variable. The model is regarded satisfactory in terms of statistical and practical significance when combined with statistically based measures of model fit. And the wall test result was useful for estimating which coefficients were statistically significant and which were not. So 8 predictive variables were evaluated by binary regression analysis, but only 3 of them showed statistical significance, which is the age, the Q2 and Q3 for public awareness of counterfeit goods online. And the remaining predictive variables didn't show a statistical significance. Results and market intelligence. So for hypothesis 2 and 3, when asked whether respondents ever purchased counterfeit goods online, majority of age bracket 26 to 41, which falls for under millennials, answered yes, followed by 52 respondents from age bracket 18 to 25, which falls under Gen Z generation. And that indicates that young and middle-aged respondents have a much higher rate of purchasing counterfeit goods online than older generations. This could also suggest that people spend more on their lifestyle demands when they are young, and as they get older, the factors that influence their purchasing decisions change. Next is the data for hypothesis 3. Data analysis showed a statistical difference between the awareness of counterfeits for each platform. All e-commerce websites, for example, adopts a zero tolerance policy and acts not only against online sellers that offer counterfeit products, but also to those that infringe brands. So due to the statistical difference in the study, it is highly likely that some e-commerce websites have a better campaign visibility against counterfeits sold via their platform than the others. Hence, e-commerce should strengthen its cooperation with brand owners and related government agencies for a full support from all stakeholders. For hypothesis 1, 3, and 4, all these factors did not show statistical significance for gender specifically, although it did not show a significance. There is a general assumption that women may give more attention to physical appearance than men. Therefore, women are more prone to buy counterfeit products online than their counterparts, which has been supplemented by the gender extrapolation of the study. Although the statistics did not illustrate a huge number difference, more women have bought counterfeit products online compared to men. The next was the level of education, which was surprisingly not a significant factor. Based on the frequency data, 206 respondents, or equivalent to 53.5%, have obtained bachelor's degree, out of which 111 admittedly purchased counterfeit goods online. This indicates a strong support for the efficacy of a consumer education seminar with regards to knowledge, attitude, and behavior toward the consumption of counterfeit merchandise. And the same goes with income level, which was not a significant factor in the purchase of counterfeit goods. And based on the data analysis, only a total of 40 respondents earned less than 20,000 baht, while 71 respondents earn 100,000 Thai baht and above. Hence, there was a substantial gap between the lowest and highest income earners. But nevertheless, both income level brackets showed an appetite for counterfeit goods. In the cross-tabulation, more than half of the latter admitted to purchasing counterfeit goods online despite earning a minimum salary of 100,000 Thai baht and above. This clearly shows that apart from the factors used in the study as determinants, other influences such as value perceptions, among others, can constitute a significant impact. Conclusions and recommendations: due to the enthusiastic attitude towards counterfeit products, it would be beneficial to actively campaign against patronizing them by informing about the dangers they pose. The decrease in sales from W's online retailers that evidently sell counterfeit items through reputable e-commerce platforms will also aid appropriate entities to identify and prosecute such illegal activities. E-commerce website and brand owners must have significant interactions and actively approach the government to offer training as well as product knowledge to show their global commitment against this illicit trade. This cross-section collaboration would almost certainly result in novel solutions such as improved information sharing, collaborative enforcement operations, and specialized targeted training and outreach. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for your wonderful presentation. Please do share the details out there in the chat box. Thank you. We will now go ahead with the next presenter for the day. Thank you. I'll call upon Dalal. Are you there? Dalal?
Yes, yeah, I can. Yeah.
Yeah, please share your presentation.
Okay. Okay, what is this now? I don't know if are you able to see the presentation? Are you able to see the presentation now?
Not yet.
Hey, Dalal, can you share the presentation? We are not able to see the presentation.
Yes, yeah, I entered share the screen.
Can you share the slide?
Share screen. Yes. Are you able to see it now?
No.
Okay.
Dalal, can you share the slides?
Yes, can you see? Are you able to see it now? Because it says screen shared already.
Yeah. We're waiting
Can you see
for
it?
you.
Can,
Yeah,
can you
please
see?
share your slide. Any difficulties are there for you to share the slides? You're not able to see your screen?
I pressed share the screen, but I don't know. You keep saying that you can't see it.
Yeah, once you press the screen, share screen,
It should be, yeah, it should be
Fine.
on. The...
are others able to see the screen? Whether other people are able to see the screen?
No, we can't see.
No, okay. There are
You can
please
see now?
you can please press on the share screen. Once you share screen, then you need to just double click on the presentation where you will be presenting it.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I keep doing now.
Did you click on the share screen?
No,
Are you presenting through cell phone or through laptop or mobile?
it's through my laptop.
Through your laptop, please click on the share screen.
Yeah, I did that.
You got a screen, a new window has been popped up.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sure,
can you see the presentation of that PPT where you are, yeah, please click on that PPT and below you can find a menu called a share.
Yeah. Yep, I did that now. Are you able to see it now or not? Not yet. Can I present without presenting the slides? I can only be, just to save your time.
So we can do one thing, we'll go next. In the meantime, we'll call upon the next presenter.
Okay, can I? Okay.
Maria? Is it done?
Yeah, I
Okay.
was the presenter before her.
Maria, is it done, right?
Yes, I was the presenter before her. I presented.
Can I, without showing the slides?
No, it is not possible without showing the slide. No? Or else you can do one thing, you can put the...
We can have our presentation now.
Yes, you can, yeah, we can present Lily motion. Please share the presentation.
Yes, thank you. You should be able to see this now. Is it correct?
Yes.
Yes. So the headline of our article and our presentation is a study on how sustainable development is reflected in HAMK's electronical and automation studies. And we come from Finland, from Häme University of Applied Sciences. We call it HAMK, which is situated centrally in the greater Helsinki metropolitan area of southern Finland at 7 campuses, and we come from here, Valkeakoski. And this is a picture of our campus. But now to the point, the sustainability at HAMK, it has been very highlighted, and it is one cross-cutting theme in our university. It is reflected in strategic decisions, but also in the everyday solutions of all students and staff. For example, we have taken part the Green Metric World University ranking, and last year we were ranked 14th, which is quite an excellent result considering the number of the participants. There were about 1,000 participants. And the focus of our article is to describe how sustainable development is reflected in HAMK's electrical and automation engineering studies, and also to consider possible ways to increase students' competence in sustainable development. And sustainable development is examined from 3 perspectives: an ecological and economic and social point of view. About our students, every year 120 students start Finnish language program and 15 start English language program. And the background of students varies greatly. And education at HAMK is carried out in modules consisting 15 credits. And we teachers work in teams so that the module team plans the implementation of the module. So team teaching is very important role. The research and projects of the energy efficiency research groups are combined with studies. The study program and research units provide services also to improve the energy efficiency of companies. Now I checked there's something in the chat. Okay, that's not for me, that's this message. And then to the curriculum. The first and second year of studies, the students have projects which are reflected, have a sustainable development point of view. Because of the time is limited now, I will not tell more about these projects, but you can read the description from our article. But the third year of study, the sustainability perspective deepens very much. The curriculum will include the hybrid systems and energy efficiency module. Studies are combined with energy efficiency related projects. And fourth year of studies, the topics of the studies are energy efficiency, centralized energy production, and building automation. And sustainable development is a very important part of all these studies. And then the final thesis. Thesis is a key part of the final phase of studies. And then a bit more about thesis. The thesis is an independently completed whole of 15 credits. It can be a research, development project, portfolio, or an article studies. But typically, the thesis in the technical study programs is practice-based development project. The HAMK guideline orders that each thesis of HAMK must include sustainable development perspectives, and these are taken into account during the evaluation process. So, how about sustainable development in the thesis of our study program? We examined 76 theses, and the results are that although the thesis guide outlines above are very clear, in practice, the consideration of sustainable development in our thesis is quite varied, and the concept of sustainable development is not reflected in the thesis very much. And finding a reason for this would require research, but it is good that now we know that, so we can improve it. However, the thesis subjects usually are that kind that they contribute to sustainable development. So the same thematics are on the agenda. In thesis, it is typical to look for solutions precisely from the point of view of efficiency and profitability. And then to the conclusions. Based on our study, the curriculum for our study program follows HAMP's sustainable development policy very well. In the curriculum systematically deepens students' competence and understanding. And based on the examination of the thesis, sustainable development is a cross-cutting strong theme in the thesis, but students do not verbally describe it in the typical wordings of ecological or sustainable development. And when looking at the theoretical background through the three sustainable perspectives, the ecological, economic, and social point of view, it can be seen that the economical perspective is strongly represented. Also, the ecological perspective is quite uncommon, but it can be seen between the lines. But the social dimension is quite limited, but however, it can be seen in the projects of the first and second year of studies. And the final conclusions then. During the student years, the economic aspect of sustainable development increases. And this is essential because the engineers seeks and finds technological solutions to the problems that our sustainable society nowadays needs. But however, our students' understanding of how technical solutions can increase ecological sustainability and social inclusion in a cost-effective manner could and should be increased. And that was our presentation. Thank you. And I don't know if we have time for any questions.
Thank you for your presentation, ma'am. We can have the questions offline. We can now go ahead with the next presenter. Yeah, I'll just call upon the next presenter.
Can I?
Anand? Yeah. Anand? Yes, please go ahead, Marcel.
Okay, I will share now my presentation.
Sure, please. We can see the screen. Please go ahead.
Okay. Wait.
And please restrict it to maximum of 8 minutes.
Okay, hello everyone. I am Maricel Amit, a student from Technological Institute of the Philippines. So our research study entitled Deaf Mute Hand Gestures Classification using the Long Short-Term Memory or LSTM, Multi-Layer Perception or MLP. So there are the communication through signing is an assortment of various hand motion images which has special meaning. So it is generally utilized by the hard of hearing white people to communicate their perspective and contemplations rapidly with the typical individuals. So the problem, the principal issue with this is the trouble to decipher the hand signals which required exceptional preparation, so according to KG Akintola et al. So there are fundamentally two kinds of motions, the static and the dynamic hand signals. So the motivations.
Sorry for interrupting. I think we are not able to see the full screen which you have made. Please share. Go to next slide. Go to next slide. We're not able to see the slide change.
There's nothing changes.
We're not able to see the slide change.
It changes here in my slide.
We're just seeing the first slide. That's it. Okay. Can you come back from your screen for the
Okay, okay. Wait.
And then go to next slide.
Okay.
Can you go to
So
next
is it
slide?
okay now? Okay.
No, we're not able to. Yes, yes.
Is it visible now?
It
Is it visible now?
But can you go to next slide?
Yeah, I already go to the next slide. I'm on the slide number 5 now.
Okay, I can see only slide number 1.
Okay, again, I will share it again. Okay, wait.
Okay.
والله الطقون ايوه 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 الطقون واحد يقول اسمه ثاني.
Okay, not yet visible.
Yes, yes, it is visible. You can just go ahead like this only. Don't make it full screen.
Okay, sige. Wait lang. Where is it now?
You go to next slide. Carry on, carry
Wait
on.
lang. Okay, wait. I will. Sure. Gosh. Wait lang. Okay. Oh my gosh. Is it visible now?
Yes, yes, this is visible now. Full screen. Yes.
Okay. So again, I am Maricel Amit, a student from Technological Institute of the Philippines. So the communication through signing is an assortment of various hand motions, images, which has a special meaning. So it is generally utilized by the hard of hearing quiet people to communicate their perspective and contemplations rapidly with the typical individual. So however, the principal issue here, they struggle to decipher the hand signals which required exact preparation. So that is according to Akintula et al. So there are fundamentally two kinds of motions, the static and dynamic hand signals. So the motivations of this study is aiming to enhance the accuracy of the hand motion acknowledgement by utilizing long short-term memory or the LSTM, which will be used as a feature extraction and multi-layer perception as the classifier in regards to the application of the hand gestures. So I have here some of the related works which still need for an improvement or enhancement. Okay, so I will just escape those related works. I will continue with the method. So here I have here the conceptual framework. Typically, classification system follow a typical structure and cycle. So in figure 1 shows here the process of the proposed study, the input, followed by the pre-processing and the feature extraction, and finally the classification. So the trained data set, so these are the example of the trained data set for training and validation purpose. So it is divided into static and the dynamic gestures. So where images of each letter is stored in independent file folder. Okay, next is the pre-processing. So in this phase, the data should be pre-processed in order to fulfill the desired output of the study. So in figure 3 here shows the pre-processing step starts with the original image that is being segmented and cropped during first iteration up to the third iteration. So then it is being reinserted and lastly being rescaled. So another here in pre-processing, we have here a good way to load all the original data and cache them together in the memory. So a skin color segmentation in the region of interest or ROI cropping technique is applied into the read image. So in this way, the size of the cache data is much smaller. So the basic idea of a skin color segmentation is filter out the region within a present color range. So in a certain color space. So we're in the 3 channel images are transformed into binary image highlighting hand regions. So in this case, we operate this segmentation in each SV color space with a set of thresholds to limit the wanted range. Next is the feature extraction. So here in figure 5 shows the LSTM was proposed by Archreiter and Skidmedhaber and comprises of 4 significant parts: a self-associated memory cell and 3 multiplicative units: the input, output, and gates. Okay, as you have seen here in our figure 5. So it is specifically constructed of the standards R and N. So that is according to Carl Sori and et al. So this property of LSTM networks empowers successful learning of long-haul conditions as inspiration for utilizing them on character streams. So the key part of our model is the LSTM highlight layered thick vector related with these hand motions. So next is the classification. So the MPL, or the multi-layer perceptron, is a fed-forward artificial neural network. It is suitable for model acre of issues that are not directly distinct, and they have great estimation properties. Typically, an MPL comprises of at least 3 layers of nodes: an input, a hidden, and output layer. So as shown here, MLP can have many hidden layers, even though generally in practice, MLP with 1 hidden layer is ideal because MLP with a hidden layer can exact any capabilities. Next is the experimental design. So we use this hardware and softwares. So in this study, the experiment was implemented on laptop with bit. And the softwares used is Anaconda version 5.0, Keras 1.0, TensorFlow 1.09. And then the data consists of 4,000 static hand gestures and 8
नम्बर हान्दिएपछि नि कसको नाम के आउँथ्यो हो र कोर्समा बस नम्बर हान्दिएपछि टुलेक्सको त्यो साइडमा बसेर
votes with a value of 4.5 and 0.5 respectively. So the hyperparameters is 50 optimizer. So next is the result and the discussions. In figure 9 shown here, the accuracy result of training and testing. So the LSTM plus MLP was simulated with ieeeforum, and the box size is 8, which achieve a state-of-the-art performance during training and testing. So in terms of classifying, the hand gestures are outperformed with this study. Next here, the comparison result. Comparison result of accuracy from other models. That this study was able to outperform the previous models.
जमिन किनेको थियो त्यसले खासैको कहानी भन्छ जमिन किनेको थियो जापान के
Based on the findings of the study, it is concluded that the deaf mute hand gesture classification using long short-term memory and multi-layer perceptron with the aid of the static and dynamic hand gestures model achieve 100% accuracy rate during the
यसैमा काम गर्दो रहेछ के त त्यही किन्नु म हजुरलाई पैसा दिन छ हो मलाई 30-35% डिस्काउन्ट
Yeah, thank you for presentation.
reference. Okay, so that's all. Thank you, everyone.